Hello. I am going to try to make a split side adjustable skirt because I am in my adult years here, my body fluctuates size, and I would really love to have a skirt that I can wear anytime, no matter what. The idea behind this skirt is that the side is where it opens up and allows you to get in and out. It's split open and it is made in two panels, the back panel and the front panel. You tie or connect one panel around you from back to front, and then the other one you connect from front to back over top of that, and that is how you close it around you. That's the basic construction of it. And one of the things I love about this design is that it has the capacity for pockets and big pockets, and that is something that really sold me on this design. I think the first time I encountered it was on a channel from the Stichery, and she got the idea from a place called the Wildflower Design. I've watched many of her videos. She's made multiple skirts in this design, and they have inspired me a lot. Though none of them are exactly what I think I would want to do and what I want for myself, but I am going to take what I have learned watching her and apply it. I've discovered that I learn best from observation, and so instead of going and buying the pattern that she used as a reference to do her work, I am just going to go off of what I think I have learned from watching her and other people and just use my instincts so that I can make it work for what I want. My game plan as of right now is to use this fabric, and I chose this fabric because I had it in my closet already. I'm gonna go with black because I love black. But I do hope if this skirt turns out good, I want to make more of them. And I hope future ones I'll use more fun colors or patterns and whatever. But I'm going to start with black. How I think I want it connected or closed up is in the front. The back panel, when it wraps around in front of me and the part that's covered up, that closure, right? I think I want to use hook and eyes for that because that is very adjustable. And so I want to use these little panels, and I think I'll have them on either side to connect in front, and that's how that'll close. And then the front part to wrap around and close in the back, I think I want ties. I just think that could look really cute to have on the outside, and it's very adjustable. So I think that's how I want those closures to be. I've never seen anyone do it exactly like that, but I think I can make this work. I'm very excited for the pockets, but that is actually the most intimidating part of me. For me, most of this I've mapped out in my head pretty well for how I think I'm going to be able to accomplish it. The pockets are what's throwing me. I don't have a lot of experience doing pockets and just with the different panels, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, so that's my game plan for now. Let's get started. So it turns out that fabric I had in my stash there actually wasn't enough, and so I did have to go to the store, and I just bought some of the cheapest black cotton fabric that they had because my last project actually cost a lot of money, and so I didn't feel like spending a ton on this one. And after I finished pre-washing it, I went ahead and cut out my circles for my skirt. So for this skirt, I decided that I wanted the waistband to be a curved waistband just because I would like the top of the skirt to sit up at my actual waist, and I do have some curves, and so I think it will need to widen at the bottom a little bit. So what I did is I took a strip of paper, and the bottom of it is going to be my lower waist measurement, and then the top will need to be my actual waist, and after doing my measurements, the difference between those is about 4 inches. So from the top edge of the paper, I will need to take in 4 inches worth of paper. So you do a bunch of math. I did evenly spaced slits that do not go all the way through the paper, just most of the way, leaving the bottom edge intact. You overlap the tops until you get the measurement that you want up there. And I think I did it right. We'll see. So I just realized that this waistband should not be my exact measurements. I need to take out about 4 inches for the closure so it will be adjustable. Looks like one of these segments is roughly 4 inches, and so I'm just going to pop one of those off and call it good. So another reason that I chose this fabric is because it is solid. There's nothing directional about it, and the front and back are basically the same, and so I wouldn't have to do any coordinating with the direction of it or the sides of it. I could be much more flexible in that way, and in my head that makes it a lot easier, and it is working out that way so far. So one of the many things that I like about this design is the potential for imperfection, if you know what I mean. This design is, there's so many places in it that you don't have to be super precise or just can kind of do your best or kind of guess. And I like that because you've heard the phrase measure twice, cut once. Yeah, I'm more of a like measure twice, overthink it for way too long, measure twice again and then cut kind of person. And so this is going to be a nice change of pace to do something that is a little bit more forgiving. So one of the few places that I actually do have to be fairly precise is the waistband, because there's a lot of mechanics that go into this and it has to be sturdy. And so you can see I've put interfacing, I've attached interfacing to one side of each of them, pinned them together. I am doing my best to not overthink this and consume time on that. I am just going with what I remember. I've done something like this once before and I'm just going for it, and hopefully it'll work out. All right, finished with connecting the waistbands. Connected them. I did an understitch, so hopefully it'll fold towards the back, which I decided is going to be the one without the interface. I have no idea if that's right or not. And then I did do slits throughout it to make it fold over easier. And yeah, next things to worry about is just the ends. Well, attaching it to the dress, I think it's first, and then I'll worry about the ends. I don't know. I'll figure it out. And doing a curved waistband was definitely the right call. It's going to be so much more flattering like that. All right, join me as I try to figure out pockets. I have very little experience in trying to do huge pockets like this, so here's what I did. First off, to figure out how deep it can be, I measured from my waist down to my fingertips, because if I'm putting stuff in my pockets, I want to get at least that deep. And so I took that measurement, and that is what this is from the top to the bottom. It was somewhere around 15 inches, I think. So that's the depth, or the length, whatever, going downwards. And then for as far as how wide it can go across me, like along the waistband, what I decided to do was this math. The front half of me is roughly 15.5 inches. And then I am taking out about 4 inches for the front closure, and then divide that by 2, because I need to know what half of me is. It's about 5.75. So I don't think I want to push that. I want to do a little bit less just so I don't have to go right to the edge. So I measured in 5 inches. That's where I'm starting with. And then I just did a rough angle going down. I have no idea what that angle is actually going to end up being. And I have no idea what the width at the bottom needs to be. This is just me figuring it out at the beginning. So the opening, I think, is going to be right there. And then this will be the top. Okay, we're going to start there. I also just remembered another measurement that I'm going to need throughout this process, which is going to be the length of the slit that will need to open up to allow me to get in and out of this thing. And so I measured from my waist down past the widest point of myself to give me the room to get in and out. And that was roughly 13.5 inches, I think. And so I've made that measurement on this, and I'll make those on the front and back panels of my dress as well. And then I'll need to measure, I'll probably make the gap about like this big for my hand to get in. Yeah, I'll do about there. Okay, there we go. All right, let's figure out the pockets. I cut out a bunch of scraps to figure out how to insert these. This is going to be the back panel in my little scenario here. I have 2 pieces for the pockets, because it needs 2, and I labeled the inside so I don't get disoriented as I try to do this. And then this is the front panel. This is not part of this. The pockets don't connect to it in any way, but for a visual, this comes over and will, connect about here, because this gets sewn down together, connected down here. Not to the pockets though, but the pockets is what keeps you modest. That's what covers up the gap so people can't see inside the skirt. And then everything is connected up at the waistband. So that is how it is going to be. The front panel isn't totally a part of this though. Let's look here. Okay, so from the gal who I've been watching how to do this, this is what I've gathered how you're supposed to do this in order. First, this top one, you roll under and make this edge all pretty, a double roll hem probably, to get that looking nice. Then connect the side and the bottom together, whether that be with a serger to clean up the edge, or a French seam is what she does. Get the side and the bottom connected. Next step is about halfway down, or however big you want your opening to be for your hand to fit in. The bottom part, sew the 2 layers together, close it up. That is not pictured here. I did not do that, but that's the next step. Get this closed up. Next step is attaching the pocket to the back panel. So you put right sides together like that, and then you sew together the back panel of the pocket to the dress panel right there, not catching the front of the pocket. You don't sew that down, just the back panel to the dress. And then how she did it was she didn't have a serger. How she ended up doing this was just finishing this edge first and then doing that, so she wouldn't have to worry about the edge through the rest of the dress. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to be doing it yet. I might end up going that route as well, but that is how you do it. At this stage or before that, she suggests basting the top just because it is not finished and it will get sewn into the waistband with everything later, but just to make sure it's not floppy, maybe baste that down. Okay, I think I have done the first step on my real pockets here. So I've cut out 4 pieces. I think they're the right directions. This one that will be on top, I have done, I think, a double rolled hem is what it's called. So that edge is nice and finished. Next step, I think, is to make these edges nice. And because I have a serger, but it's not set up yet, I am going to do a French seam, which I think means I start this way, then turn it out. I don't know, I'll figure it out. But that's the next step. So now what I'm doing is I am pinning the edges of the back panel. So here's the top, right? This is a side seam, and I think what I'm going to try to do is roll it once, right? And then after I add the pockets and there's that raw seam, I will do it again, I think, and that will make it all nice and crisp and clean, I think. I'll keep you posted. And so yeah, you can see I'm only doing it once. And technically this is a salvage edge, which means it can't fray. So if I wanted to cut corners and be lazy, I actually wouldn't even need to finish up this edge because it's not going to fray. But I'm going to try to practice being fancy and doing it right. All right, so here's what it's looking at right now. I have finished these pockets. I have finished this front bit, of course. This top one, rolled it up so it's all nice and fancy. Did a French seam around the bottom and side, so that's all nice and sealed and strong, hopefully. And I have also connected the front and back one together on the bottom half and did some double stitch in there to make it nice and strong so that has the opening for the pockets. So that is all done. Okay, I think I have figured this out. I've been playing with this fabric so much and I think I have finally come to a conclusion. Okay, or a solution. So this pocket, you can see, so I've pinned it right there, and then I will sew it with its raw edge against this raw edge from the one turnover on the skirt. So both raw edges are next to each other, and I've done that on this bottom bit here. But then up at this top, I have finished the process with pins, where then this I will roll over again, so all the raw edges are tucked in there, and I pinned that just like that up here. So yeah, it looks so nice. And then on the other side, it's all pretty, right? And I'll do that for the rest of the bottom, but I think that's the solution. I think that will work. I'll make sure that it's all measured out properly, but hey, I think I figured it out. I'm gonna go with that. I'm sorry if it seems like I'm going on about these pockets forever, but as I prefaced, this was the thing that was stressing me out the most and the thing that I feel like I need to document the most because I'll need this footage to look back on and learn from. So I should probably really be ironing all of this before I pin and sew it all to make things easier and be a good little sewist, but ain't nobody got time for that. Don't follow my example though. Always iron your seams before you do them. Part of the reason is just because one of my goals for this project is to see how quickly I can do it, because like I said, I'm such a slow worker, and so for this one I want to see if I can just plow through it and get it done quick. And so it's like one of the steps in here should probably be ironing this, but I can make it look fine without it, so not gonna do that. I'm gonna skip that step. Though something I did realize that's probably gonna come back to bite me with not doing all the measuring and everything is if I ever try to replicate this or do it again, I don't have all the nice little measurements that I would have otherwise, just because I've been winging it and just doing it as I go. So that's unfortunate. I'll probably have to relearn some of it again just because I haven't been as precise, but meh. So when attaching these pockets and flipping over the seam, I decided that on the outside I wanted as few stitch lines to show as possible, and so I'm only doing the one side where the pocket is, and then the rest that's going to be underneath I am stitching on both sides of the seam, so there will be 2 stitch lines. So there actually are a few places that I do need to iron, one of which is going to be the bottom of the dress, the hem, right? It will help a lot if you iron that first before trying to sew it because it is so rounded. And another place very similar to that is the bottom of the waistband because it is so curved. that it helps a lot if you can get that ironed first so that that curve will stay put when it's going through the machine. So I do need to do those first. All right, the waistband has been attached, and what you're looking at is the front. Those are the good sides. And so when you look to the inside, this is what it's looking like. Now I believe the next step is to fold this over. That'll be the back side of it. I'm gonna see if I can do this one-handed to show you. This will fold over, and then this will go here, and then I'm going to try and stitch in the ditch from the front and get this all nice and covered up and pretty. Okay, let's see if I can do that. Hold up. Just remembered that before I do that, I think I need to address these ends and get all the mechanics in here that I need there before I close it up. Okay, let's concentrate there for a minute. The hook and eye panels that I wanted to use for the front didn't come long enough, as long as I wanted them to be, and so I had to sew two of them together. I had to be very cautious because there are little bits of metal in there that I had to try to avoid, and so I stitched very slowly so that I wouldn't crack a needle while sewing it. You guys, look at this. I have finished the back panel apart from just attaching it to the front panel. Oh my goodness, look at these attachments. They totally worked out. This feels so cool to be wearing it. Oh yeah. This back panel is amazing, but there are some things to note that I do need to change for the front panel, because this one is completely hidden, the waistband, so it doesn't really matter, but the front one will be seen. So this one, here's what we need to change. First off, the stay stitch did poke out right here, and so I'm going to have to be more careful on the front to make sure that is completely covered. Both ends were finished off, I mean, terribly. They're functional. They are going to be sturdy, strong, and they do what they need to do. But how I finished it is just not the best. Like I said, luckily it's hidden, but you can see that it's a little makeshift. And the stitch in the ditch, I honestly wasn't really trying to do it refined. I was just trying to get it done. And you can tell that I wasn't super precise with it. So when I do that on the front, I will be more careful and get that done better. But I'm so happy with it. Okay, time to do the front. Okay, one way I'm trying to be better about making the front look better than the back did is doing a little bit more prep work in the beginning, which, as I stated previously, I know helps a lot and I think is necessary for this bit to make it actually look good and function right. And straightening up the edges. I took this back, trimmed this to be nice and straight to give me enough seam allowance. I didn't on the other one, and then I trimmed that to be nice and straight. Hopefully this will look better. Now moving on to the front panel. To finish the edges, I just used this rolled hem foot that I've never used before, just to try and get it done quickly. And it actually worked pretty well. It only poked out in one place, so that's a win. Well, that's embarrassing. Let's try that again. Throw that on there before I forget. All right, here's my plan of action. This end in the back, I'm going to have loops so that I can tie it. So I have made several of these little things that are going to be sewn in, and that is what that will loop into. So I want these to be super duper secure, and I want to sew a few times to make sure that they're in there super secure. But on the front, I don't want a whole bunch of stitch marks. I don't think that'll look very good. So first, I'm going to sew them to just the back once, maybe twice, and then when I sew all together and go through all the layers, then it'll show on the front, but that's okay. But at least they'll be securely in there. This front panel turned out great. The understitch is so much more clean, and you can't see it from the front as well. I've never been super good at stitching in the ditch, but this one actually is okay. I honestly wasn't sure how to finish it off because I wanted to just do it in one go. So I went from the ditch stitch straight into this to close it up. I don't love how that looks, but I didn't know what else to do, and I'm just rolling with it. All right, so I have a little bit of a hiccup that a few steps ago I thought might become a thing, and then it did. This front panel is not wide enough. It ends here when it should be ending here. This is the true side of me, and the panel is ending here. And it's kind of the same on the other side. And so That is a bummer, but not a deal breaker because this swoops down and is going to connect about here. So there's just going to be kind of this awkward bit there, which I honestly don't care enough about to do something about, because honestly this dress was kind of just a trial dress, almost like a mock-up. I hope to make more that are better. So yeah, that's too bad. But now the next step, this is front panel is all done. I just need to attach them together and I'm all done. Oh, besides the hem. But besides that, I'm all done. So in regards to closing these together, attaching these two panels together, the video that I was watching, the gal who I'm going off of, she was not very specific on this point, and so I'm not exactly sure how to finish it. I was thinking you would have to tuck them so all the ends were on the inside, of course, but I'm going to go this route instead. It seems to make more sense to me. I'm just laying them on top of each other, and I'm just going to sew it and try and make it as pretty as I can, and this pin is where I'll stop. There, and that's how I'm going to close up the sides. When connecting these two panels together, again, I didn't want too many stitch lines to be visible, and so I just did one that was really close to the seam, and that's the only one that I did. So I feel very silly. I realized why the panels are too narrow on the front and back, and that's because at the very beginning when I was measuring my circumference for how big to make my circles, I measured my actual waist for those panels and not my drop waist measurement, which, if you recall, is 4 inches bigger. So that makes sense, because I would say these panels are at least 2 inches too short on either side. So that's where the problem is, and it happened right at the beginning. I did not calculate the drop waistline for the width of the panels. I did the wrong one, and that's where the problem is. PSA, always watch your fingers around the machine. Good thing that was just my nail. This hem turned out actually way better than I was expecting. There's hardly any puckers. Only once did it do this weird skip, and only one time did it like fall off. But that's it. All the rest looks so good. And that is it. It's done. It's not perfect, but I still love it. Here are some of the lessons that I learned and things that I hope to apply to future ones that I make. Of course, the biggest issue with this one is that I need to measure the right part of my waist for the different parts of the skirt up top. This one is definitely still wearable, but I need to do that right on future skirts. One thing I might consider doing is making the front waistband just a little bit bigger than the back one, so it will cover up the back one completely all the time, no matter what. This one still works, but sometimes it peeks out a little bit, and so I might make the front one a little bit bigger just to ensure that it is covered. Something that I definitely need to do is put some sort of indication on the waistband of what is the front and back and what is the inside and outside, because it is a little bit hard to orient it. I'll probably just make sure to put my name in the center back at the very least. So the laces in the back, I love how it looks, but it is awkward. I didn't even think about this until I was nearly done with this dress, that I was going to have to lace it up blind. There's no way to do it ahead of time, and I'm going to have to do it behind my back, which is obnoxious. It is doable and doesn't take too much time, but I'm not going to do it again on any other dresses, I don't think. Update, the laces in the back are actually not too bad. I've worn that dress again since then and discovered that the ribbon is actually long enough to where you can pull each panel on either side of you and see them as you're lacing them on either side and then tie it up in the back, so it's actually not too bad. A couple other little things is the pocket slits I might make a little bit bigger. And then also I do wish it did have some sort of lining or slip, because this fabric doesn't drape very well and catches a little bit, and so I'll definitely need to be wearing a slip with it. I love this design. It does exactly what I wanted it to do. It's very comfortable to wear, and I don't have to worry about my size and being able to fit into it or not. So thanks for sticking around and watching me make this split side adjustable skirt, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!